Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we are going to look at FR unit, also known as fraction unit. FR is an abbreviation of the word fraction. And the FR unit is a unit which represents a fraction of the available space in the grid container. So a fraction or 1 FR is one part of the whole. One fraction is 100% of the available space. So two fractions are 50% each, and so on and so forth. Understood? So let's see how this is done. So in the previous video, we created 3 columns with fixed width. The first two occupying 200 pixels and then the third one occupying 400 pixels. And that's what we have on the browser. But the problem with fixed width is that they don't adjust to the available space. That's why once we use the FR unit, the columns will be able to adjust to the available space of the width. So let's do that. So here I'm going to create an example of 3 columns that are equal using the fraction unit. So I'm going to comment the first one, that is for the fixed width, and then create another grid template columns. So GTC, and then I'm going to create 1 FR for the second column, and then the third one 1 FR also. Save the document, check on the browser, and now as you can see, we have 3 equal columns, one having a fraction of the space. So if you look again on the browser and try to adjust the width of the browser, you will see now the columns are adjusting to the available space. So this one is good for creating responsive layouts. So let's try to change another. For example, let's change the second column to have 3 fraction of the space. And now as you can see, we have the second column which is occupying 3 fraction of the available space. Again, if you try to adjust the width, you'll see they are adjusting to the available space. So let's do something else, a better example. So here I'll create the first column to be 300 pixels, and then the second and the third column will have 1 fraction each. So like that, and then save on the browser. And now as you can see, we have the first column which is 300 pixels, and then the second one and the third, they are having 1 fraction each. So let's open the DevTools by inspecting the element. So inspect. So here I'm going to check this overlay grid. So if I hover the mouse over the grid container class on the HTML section, on the inspector, you will see now we can be able to see the width of the container. That is the grid container. So the width is 849, as you can see. But let me show you something else here. So if I say separate window, you will see now the width will change. So now if I try to hover the mouse over the grid container class, you'll see now the width is 1349. Also again, the columns are adjusting according to the width or the available space, which is 1349. So again, basically what is happening here is that the first column is 300 pixels. So the available space is 1349. So 1349 minus 300 of the first column, and then the remaining space is being distributed to the second and the third column. So that is exactly what is happening here. Again, if I switch back to dock to the right, you'll see now again we have the width. The columns are adjusting to the available space, which is 849. So 849 minus 300 minus the first column, which is 300 pixels, and then the remaining space being distributed to the second and the third column, as you can see. So now I hope you have a clear understanding of how the fraction unit works. So let's also continue. So let's this time use a repeat function. So here I'm going to say repeat so I'm going to have 2 and then 2 fraction each of the available space. So if I save the document, check on the browser, as you can see now they have the first column, which is 300 pixels, and then the remaining space being distributed to the second and the third columns. Again, if I switch this to maybe bottom, dock to bottom, and then I hover the mouse over the grid container class on the HTML section, you'll see now we have again 1349. You minus that from the 300 column, from the first column, and then the remaining space is being distributed to the second and the third column. So that's how the fraction unit works. Again, you can also use percentage, just like we have done with the mixing the units. We have used the pixels and also the fraction. You can also use percentage. So let's say, for example, we want the first column to be 50% of the width. So 50% of the width, and then the available space to be distributed to the 2 columns, 1 fraction each. So I'm going to change from 2, so 1 fraction for the 2 second and third column. So if I save the document, check on the browser. As you can see now, we have the first column occupying 50% of the width, and then the remaining space being distributed to the second and the third column. So as you can see, we have the first column occupying the 50% of the width, and then the remaining 2, that is the second and third column, occupying, or the space being distributed to the 2. So I hope now you have a clear understanding of how the fraction unit works. So you can play around with this and understand more. So stick around. I'll see you in the next video as we look into something else.